See, this is the crazy stuff that goes on in the city of Charlotte, North Carolina, man. Of the 230 radar and LiDAR detection devices in Charlotte, North Carolina, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department found that 170 of those 230 devices were tested by technicians who lacked certification required by the state of North Carolina. In other words, these devices were tested by people who were not properly certified by the state of North Carolina to do the testing. According to one officer, they will have to be recalibrated. Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department motorcycles and cars typically use radar and LiDAR detection devices to determine a vehicle's speed. It is unclear how many speeding citations issued will be affected, but one thing is for certain is that the district attorney of Charlotte, North Carolina has stated that if you have been charged with the speeding citation in Mecklenburg County, you and your attorney should appear in court on the court date to discuss available options. You should not pay for your speeding citation online. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Knockout 360 here with another video, man. So I've got car content, car shows, car reviews, car meets, anything and everything car related happening on this channel. So if you're into that, make sure that you stick around because you're in the right place. For what else, hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so that you know what's coming out and when it's coming out. So boom. This has been making big news in the city of Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, if you're not in Charlotte, this may not pertain to you and you don't give a damn. But if you've ever been in Charlotte and never been pulled over for a speeding citation, this might actually pertain to you. Long story short, last week, a major, I guess, fallout took place, or a major backlash, because it turns out that of the city's 230 radar and LiDAR detection devices, we've talked about radar and LiDAR detection devices based on what police officers are using. That's the devices that they use to measure your speed. I mean, radar is an older, kind of antiquated technology that a lot of police departments used to use back in the day. LiDAR is a more advanced, technologically advanced speed reading, speed detection software, or technology that they're using in police departments. Most departments are using LiDAR detection at this point. Well, it turns out that of the city's 230 devices, 170 of those, let me say that again, of the city's 230, 170 of those, which means only 60 of the devices that were actually in the city of Charlotte, North Carolina, was actually functioning properly. 170 of the 230 were tested by technicians who lacked certification required by the state. In other words, they were tested by people who did not have the proper certification according to the state of North Carolina. So essentially, they were tested incorrectly. 170 of these devices were tested incorrectly. Motorcycles and cars in the city of Charlotte, North Carolina used radar and LiDAR detection devices. It is unclear how many speeding citations issued will be affected, according to one officer, but the city is working to collect that information as we speak. The district attorney of Charlotte, North Carolina literally said in plain words, if you have been charged with a speeding citation in Mecklenburg County, which is Charlotte, North Carolina, you and your attorney should appear in court on your court date to discuss available options. Instead of just paying it off online like a lot of people do, which the city of Charlotte wants you to do, the police department wants you to do because they want that money, they're telling you, or the district attorney is saying, that you should go to court, because if 170 of those devices were incorrectly calibrated or incorrectly certified, or certified by people that were incorrectly certified by the state of North Carolina, or calibrated by people that were incorrectly certified by the state of North Carolina, those tickets could be wrong as hell. So when that cop pulled you over and said that you were doing 88 and a 70, and you said there's no way I was doing 78, which on 485 in Charlotte, North Carolina is perfectly legal. I mean, that's still 8 miles over the speed limit, but you're not likely to get pulled for that. That officer's device was 10 miles, incorrect. 10 miles over what you were actually doing, and ultimately incorrect. And you have to pay that ticket or show up in court to fight that ticket. And the district attorney is literally saying that you should fight that ticket instead of just paying it. This is the crazy stuff that I deal with in my city, man. If you have been pulled over in the last, I don't know how long, because North Carolina basically started doing radar certifications in 2008, which means annually they're supposed to have all of their radar devices tested and calibrated and make sure that they're reading out correct information. And LiDAR certification started in 2018. So radar, like I said, is an old, antiquated technology that they use for speed detection. LiDAR is more recent, more new. radar since 2008, LiDAR since 2018. Apparently, every year that they've been calibrated incorrectly, which means technically, if you've gotten a speeding ticket between 2023 and 2008, you may have some sort of grounds of reopening that case and taking that to court and fighting it. Now, I don't know how lucky you would be if you tried to reopen a court case from 2008. I mean, good luck with that. But more recently, 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, you might actually have something. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's wild that 170 of the 230 devices in the city of Charlotte, North Carolina are literally incorrect. Now, they won't say that it's incorrect. They won't blatantly say that, let me brighten you guys up here. I know you're looking at me like, what's going on? They won't blatantly say that the information is incorrect, but it just kind of makes sense that it would read incorrectly. If it hasn't been calibrated properly, or it hasn't been calibrated by someone that was certified to calibrate it properly according to the state of North Carolina, something would tell me that 9 times out of 10, the information that it's reading out is incorrect. You know? That's the equivalent of my speedometer telling me that I'm doing 60 miles an hour when I know in my head I've got to be doing 120. I'm blowing past everybody, but my speedometer is telling me I'm doing 60, you know? So it's a failure in the technology itself. I mean, 230, 70%, a little over or a little under or a little over 70% of the devices in the state of North Carolina or in the city of Charlotte, North Carolina have the potential to be reading out incorrect information as far as the tickets are concerned. You know, even the district attorney is basically telling people, hey, listen, you guys need to fight that ticket. If you have a court date anytime soon for speeding, you need to fight that ticket. And they're even going as far as to say, like, if you got pulled over initially for speeding and the police officer determined that you may have been drinking or you may have illegal tints on your car, or maybe you have, I don't know, a controlled substance or something like that in your car, you may want to fight that too, because the initial grounds for the traffic stop are in question. So if the initial grounds for the traffic stop are in question, anything above and beyond that shouldn't even be considered. Like, that should be inadmissible of evidence at that point. You know what I'm saying? Just because it's like, you shouldn't have pulled me over for speeding. And if you didn't pull me over for speeding, you wouldn't have known that I was drunk. Now, I understand that obviously, you know, the morality of that is that you shouldn't have been drinking and driving, and you probably should have been pulled over regardless. But realistically, legally speaking, you shouldn't have pulled me over for speeding, because if I were not speeding and the devices were properly calibrated, there would be no traffic stop. And if there's no traffic stop, there's no me going to jail for DWI or DUI or getting a tint and a speeding ticket on top of one another. Like, you know, in Charlotte, North Carolina, like, you can get a speeding ticket, which to my understanding is going to run you 180, 190, something like that. And then a tint ticket on top of that, or a tint citation on top of that, could easily add another 130. So before you know it, all said and done, you could be paying 300, 330 before it's all said and done. And if you decide that you want to take it to court and fight it, prior to this information, lawyer fee, all that stuff, like, it may not even be worth your time. That's why a lot of people will just go online and pay the damn ticket, because it's like, it's too much of a hassle to hire a lawyer and try to go downtown and fight it, or represent yourself and fight it. But in this case, literally, the district attorney is telling people to fight it. You know, like, it's that bad. Like, if the district attorney is going to come out and publicly say that, then that lets you know that there's some credence to this. 170 of 230 devices in the city have the potential of essentially printing out incorrect information as far as citations are concerned. Like, think about how many people out there that got pulled over for speeding and that led to something else. That led to, now don't get me wrong, that may have led to some good cop work in the sense that, you know, if you're a felon or maybe you have a warrant for your arrest and you got pulled over for speeding, then I could see how you would say, then, you know, that's a good thing that, you know, you were pulled over. But regardless of that, by the letter of the law, you shouldn't have been pulled over to begin with. So you can fight the initial grounds and basis for why you were pulled over, and that could get everything else on top of that expunged. You know what I'm saying? And that's what the district attorney literally said, is that, listen, if you got pulled over for speeding and the grounds and the basis for speeding are now in question, whatever else you got, you know, arrested for or charged with should be null and void and completely expunged, because there should not have been an interaction to begin with. So apparently at this point, they're recalibrating everything. So if you get pulled over today, when this video comes out, your ass is going to get that ticket. Like, you know what I'm saying? They ain't no fighting that. But if you got pulled over recently in the last couple weeks, last couple months, maybe even the last year, even if you have paid it or gone to court and lost and paid it anyway, you might want to, depending on how much money came out of your pocket and how much of a hassle that is, you might want to go downtown and see if you can get that case reopened. Like the district attorney literally said that. You might want to go downtown and try to get that case reopened and fight it. Because if it can be determined that somehow or another the device that picked up your speed and initially triggered the interaction between you and the officer was faulty and incorrect, you can get all that shit thrown out. This is the crazy stuff that we deal with in Charlotte, North Carolina, man. So, you know, for people that live in the city and you've gotten the ticket recently, you might want to look into it just to make sure that it's correct. I'll put the link to all of the articles in the description for you guys that's watching so that you know that what I'm saying is obviously legitimate because it's coming from legitimate sources. It was on WSOC. It was on WBTV. If you're in Charlotte, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. WCNC Charlotte. No, I mean, it's all over Charlotte. You know what I'm saying? If you've been paying attention here. So I'll put the links in the description. But seriously, if you got hit with a ticket recently, you really might want to fight that, man. Or just eat it and move on about your day. But something tells me you might have some kind of leverage in this particular situation. Any boy Knockout, man. I'm trying to keep the streets clean, man. See you in the next one. Peace.